Welcome back. Well, let's connect with the management of Gokaldas Exports. They reported their numbers, and also there has suddenly been a big scare because of these heightened tariff worries. We have with us Mr. Ganapathi, the Vice Chairman, as well as the MD at Gokaldas Exports, who joins in. Hi, sir. Good morning. Always good to have you on the show.
Morning.
Well, your shareholders will be waiting to hear from you because, these tariffs have suddenly weighed on the business. So give us a few details. Have you had any discussions with your customers? Have there been any cancellations that have come about? And do you see this big risk of business that was supposed to come to India now goes to competing nations?
So, with tariff, nothing is settled, so nothing can be predicted as well. That's the reality, right? So we had this incremental 25% tariff imposed just recently,
Yes.
and we need to see how that plays out because that's just so new that discussions are on with various stakeholders as to how do we deal with it. But if you look at the tariff before that, which is the 25% on India, vis-a-vis like 20% on Vietnam, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and other competing countries, I think that was something which we could still manage. 20% is the minimum tariff on most of the large apparel manufacturing nations. So 20 is the new zero in many ways, and 25 was just 5% above. We could have handled it. But an additional 25% is something which we are, watching. We are seeing, how long is this going to be before some normalcy could come in. It's very early to speculate on what is the impact of that on business. Suffice to say that India exports about 5 billion to United States. And it's not possible for brands or retailers to move 5 billion out of India to other countries overnight, because that kind of capacity may not be available. So this may take some time before capacity realignments can happen. In the meanwhile, the whole system will be under stress on account of that incremental 25%. And I think we have to deal with it. It's a very big number and a very big stress point. But that said, in the longer run, if this persists, we will see a significant erosion of business. But in the short run, I feel that there could be some normalcy or rational thoughts that can come in over the next 3 months or 4 months.
Indeed, sir. We hope for a rational Trump. We keep hoping, but some of the comments keep getting more irrational. So let's live in that hope. That said, so as you're clearing out, 25% is maybe manageable, but this additional 25% hits you hard. But now people are looking at risk mitigation. You have presence in Africa, Kenya, as well as Ethiopia. Will you consider moving a higher amount of your operations there, since they are, the tariffs that's levied out there is relatively lower? Is that something that you're looking at?
So obviously the business that on that side is growing because brands themselves are seeking out those regions where tariff is lower. For instance, Kenya and Ethiopia have only 10% reciprocal tariff. So it's going off a small base. So we export about $100 million out of that region, and that part will grow faster. As far as India is concerned, we let us still find a solution. But natural progression of things would be that business would seek regions with competitive tariff, and for us, it means that with manufacturing capacities there, we would see a higher growth.
Mr. Ganapathi, hi, good morning, sir. So let's try to sort of wrap our heads around this, because we do have numbers till they change. Now, let's assume that the 25% stays, and you're saying that could have still been managed and handled. So in that scenario, if you do a scenario analysis, in that scenario, would you have to shift any of your current production to markets like Ethiopia and Kenya or other countries? What are you thinking in terms of just a shift in manufacturing, if at all, at 25%?
So at 25%, I wouldn't foresee a huge amount of shift. Of course, the arbitrage will play, right? With Kenya and Ethiopia at 10%, with vis-a-vis 25% for India, there will be a larger growth there. And that growth will come at the expense of multiple nations, not just India, because almost all other nations are at 20% or higher. So from that perspective, that region will grow. But I don't think it is only at the expense of India.
I understood your point. So you're not immediately looking to shift out at 25%, but in general, those markets will see good growth. I absolutely take that point. Now let's talk about at 25%. Now this 25% obviously has to be borne by the retailer, by the customer, maybe to an extent by you. So your conversations over the last couple of weeks, I mean, where do they leave the split? Because I think in the call, you did mention that there will be some pressure on margins going into Q2 and the rest of the year.
Right. No, that's absolutely sure. So this 25%, if we look at it, 20% seems to be that new normal, right, across the world, and that will come with eventually. I'm saying not in the short run, maybe a year from now, or maybe the next financial year, more likely that it will get passed on to the retailers, the end consumers. There are certain brands which are looking at increasing pricing for the end consumers. There will be de-specking of garments, or shrinkflation, as FMCG industry looks at it, where the value of the garment will be protected, but some features can be removed or reduced so that the pricing can be managed from a consumer standpoint. So multiple methods will be used by brands to keep the consumer pricing more or less less inflationary, and yet reduce the cost of buying, and thereby tariff kind of offsets it. So strategies will be adopted. As far as value chain or supply chain is concerned, initially over the 10% which was in place, the supply chain was absorbing a portion of it. I don't think when it goes to 25%, the supply chain has as much ability to absorb any further. So it rest has to be managed in terms of pricing or in terms of product spec changes.
Got it. Mr. Ganapathi, we're out of time. So very quickly, did you speak to any of your customers yesterday at the current 50% tariff? Have they cancelled the orders? What is Q2 and Q3, Q4 going to look like in terms of top line? And again, coming back to the question about margins, give at 25% tariff, for the sake of simplicity, what will be the extent of sharing of the burden, and how much could your margins get compressed?
So for Q2, those orders were placed long back, so I don't see any problem as far as Q2 business is concerned. For Q3, those discussions are yet to begin. So we have not seen any customer cancel any order so far, but discussions are on as to how do we deal with it, and it will play over the next 2 weeks, I think, for Q3. As far as the burden share for 25% is concerned, it's also speculative. As I said, our net profit margins are in single digits, net profit margin. So there is a limited room for us to absorb. I think the rest of it will have to be absorbed by the others in the supply chain, including the retailer.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot, sir, for joining in. We'd like to have a longer chat, so we re-invite you in the next couple of weeks and understand how things pan out. But as you said at the start of in your initial comments, hoping for a more rational President Trump that'll make doing business, globally much better. Have a good day, and we'll chat with you soon.